I didn't have any other dreams because I didn't think I was capable of doing anything else. I didn't know how to make money. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur meant or didn't have that mindset until after sports. I was recovering from a surgery where I had an injury. I was trying to figure out what was next. I went through a dark time because my identity was shattered from not being able to play sports anymore.
Lewis Howes, New York Times bestselling author, lifestyle entrepreneur, and host of one of the biggest podcasts in the world, The School of Greatness.
Since I was a kid, I always dreamed of the life that I wanted to live. And so dreaming and getting clear on my vision was never an issue for me, where so many people come to me and say, well, how do you find your purpose or your passion? For me, I've always felt like whatever I feel most inspired by, I just lean into that. The thing that lights me up the most, that excites me the most, where I can use my gifts and talents for the most good. I'm like, that's my purpose.
Welcome to this special bite-sized episode of Screw It, Just Do It from our back catalogue of over 550 past episodes. If you like what you hear, don't forget to follow the show and grab your free 2-day pass to the Festival of Entrepreneurs this October. Just head to festivalofentrepreneurs.co.uk to claim yours, and don't forget to dive into the back catalogue. Now open for this year's Festival of Entrepreneurs. Join us at the NEC in Birmingham on October the 8th and 9th for 2 game-changing days with 200 plus speakers and thousands of ambitious founders. Get your free limited 2-day pass at festivalofentrepreneurs.co.uk or click my personal link in the show notes.
I guess looking back now, I'm assuming being an author as a potential career growing up was never remotely even on your radar.
Never thought about it, man. I never thought about being a writer or an author or being a New York Times bestseller. And but I did believe in sharing my voice and getting my message out there and being a catalyst for people. I always saw myself as a catalyst. Early on, it was with sports. I didn't think I was smart enough to speak in front of people, to have anything interesting to say, but I did believe I could be a great athlete and I could inspire and wow people with my performance on the field or on the basketball court or on the track. And I loved the feeling after in a game when someone would come up to me and say, you know what? You really lifted me up today. That one move you did, or where you didn't fight and you came back and you scored, or this and that, it really lifted me up. You showed me what was possible for my life. And I loved that feeling, that impact that I could have through doing something I loved and hearing stories of people. So I've always wanted to recreate that when I was done with sports. I said, I got to figure out a way I can be a catalyst for people to show them what's possible in their life by me living my dreams. And, writing, doing the podcast, all that stuff has kind of helped.
And was wanting to be a pro athlete, the only childhood dream.
Mm-hmm.
Literally.
That was it, man. That was it. I mean, I didn't have any other dreams because I didn't think I was capable of doing anything else. I didn't know how to make money. I wasn't an entrepreneur. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur meant or didn't have that mindset until after sports. I was, on my sister's couch for a couple of years. I was recovering from a surgery where I had an injury and was trying to figure out what was next. I went through a dark time because my identity was shattered from not being able to play sports anymore. And also, just before I got injured playing football, my dad went through a pretty big accident where he was on vacation in New Zealand and he got in a car accident where a car came up on top of his roof of his car. The bumper came to the windshield and hit him in the head.
Wow.
And he was in a coma for 3 months and they had to cut the car in half, airlift him out. And we didn't know if he was going to live or not. We had no clue. We just knew he was in a coma in life support in the hospital. And so for me, this was a turning point because I was so used to having my father kind of mentor and guide me my whole life and, provide for me financially, inspire me. He was like, whenever you're done with sports, you can always come back and work for me. So I had this kind of backup plan in my dad that never forced me to get creative with anything else. Then when he went through his injury, he's still alive today. He finally woke up and he's just never been the same. He's not emotionally there the way he was. He's not mentally all there the way he was. Can still have a conversation with him, but he's very forgetful and just kind of a different energy now, which has been a whole nother letting go experience for me. But in those 2-year window, he was really in a rough spot and we had to kind of teach him how to walk and talk and read and write and just move again for those couple of years. And I was just like, I have this, my father, who I'm essentially taking care of, can't take care of me anymore.
Yeah.
And my dream is done. My identity, who am I? I was just kind of going through this darker phase where I knew there was something bigger for me. I didn't know what it was, but I just knew that this wasn't going to be my story. And I said, I'm going to figure this stuff out. And I started seeking out mentors early on who were just local, successful business owners, people who had achieved certain things, who'd made some financial gains, who professional speakers I started mentoring with, marketers, inventors, designers. I was thirsty for information. My education really began after I was done with college.
Mm.
That's when I started to learn. And I became so hungry for information to help improve my life. And that's when everything kind of started to shift. I didn't have this, again, backup plan with my dad. So it forced me to think differently. It forced me to think, okay, how can I get someone to pay me $50? How can I get someone to give me $100? How can I survive? Because otherwise, I'm not going to make any money. And this was right in the crisis of 2008, 2009. The economy in the US was going down and people with master's degrees were getting fired. And I didn't even have a college degree yet. So, and I also didn't want to go get a job at the time because I had this taste of a professional athlete lifestyle that was amazing.
Mm.
And I was just like, how can I recreate this? How can I recreate this in my life? And yeah, so my dad getting injured, me losing my dream, and all those things kind of at the same time happening really got me to be creative. And a lot of people ask, do you think you're born as an entrepreneur or you can be made one? And I definitely was not born one. I was made one because
Really? Yeah.
circumstances.
Hmm.
I never made money. I never knew how to make money. I was like, worked on a golf course getting paid whatever, $6 an hour. I worked as a bouncer at a nightclub. I worked as a truck driver all during high school and college. I was never like, oh, let me start a lemonade stand. Let me trade baseball cards. Like I was never that guy who was always entrepreneurial. Never. I was terrified. It
Hmm.
wasn't until I was broke, felt like a loser on my sister's couch for 2 years, and my father wasn't there to support me anymore. It was like, oh, I've got to figure this out. It was a necessity for me to learn. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't be where I'm at if my father didn't go through that and I didn't go through all those things at that time. I would have just kind of like had the backup plan and never been forced to.
Mm.
But it gave me this desire to be more, to reach a potential of another life that I never even thought was possible outside of sports. And it's been a challenging but beautiful journey.
If you're enjoying this conversation and thinking, I need to be around more people like this, then I've got the perfect solution for you. The Festival of Entrepreneurs is where 5,000 to 10,000 ambitious entrepreneurs come together to learn from the people who've actually done it. It's on October the 8th and 9th at the NEC in Birmingham, and I'm giving my listeners free 2-day passes. Real entrepreneurs, real stories, real strategies. Exactly like what you're hearing right now, but live and in person. Go to festivalofentrepreneurs.co.uk and get your free 2-day pass before they're gone.
And is that when you started first forming the vision for what you've gone on to achieve? Because I was, always listen to your podcast and listen to the one last Friday when it was, talking about vision for 5 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, was that when you first started putting that together?
I mean, I've always had dreams since I was a kid. I always dreamed of the life that I wanted to live. And so dreaming and getting clear on my vision was never an issue for me where so many people come to me and say, well, how do you find your purpose or your passion? And for me, I've always felt like whatever I feel most inspired by, I just lean into that. And that becomes part of my vision. The thing that lights me up the most, that excites me the most, the thing that gives me the most joy, where I can use my gifts and talents for the most good. I'm like, that's my purpose. Otherwise, if anything else is boring and lame and not fun, why would I make that my vision when I could have a more fulfilling, rich experience throughout life, pursuing my vision? So for me, at that point, the vision was, how do I get off my sister's couch? How do I make some money so I can feel like an adult? And, but I also wanted to do things that were interesting to me. Now, we don't always get that choice where we get to do things that are like fun all the time and make us a lot of money. So for years, I had to work hard and work for free for mentors to learn until a little bit of money started coming in. And even then, I was teaching LinkedIn to people, because that's something I was just mastering early on to connect with mentors. And I wanted I wanted potential mentors to respond to me on LinkedIn. So I learned how to master my LinkedIn profile and optimize it so people would think I'm credible enough that they would email me back. That's how I got into LinkedIn, because I was like, here's someone I want to connect with, but why would they talk to me when I'm just some like scrub living on my sister's couch? So I was like, professional athlete, two-sport All-American. I was like using all my credentials to lead with this like credibility, and really started to just study LinkedIn, like what works, what looks clean, what are these other profiles that are epic looking to me? Who would I respond to? And I just started to like dive in deeper and deeper and deeper. And people kept saying to me, wow, you have a great looking profile. Can you help me? And friends, I just started helping for free. And then one guy said, here's $100. This is going to change my business. And I was like, really? You'll pay me for this? This is just something I'm doing every day for fun because I'm trying to get in touch with, interesting people that could potentially give me the answers to my challenges. And I just leaned into it. I made $100 here, another couple $100. Then people, I realized like at the time, Twitter meetups were a big thing, tweet ups back in the day, 2008. I said, there's something to this. Maybe I can create like LinkedIn meetups. And so I started forming groups on LinkedIn, just kind of like Facebook groups today. And I started cultivating these communities of people that were struggling and needed resources and needed connections. And I was just the curator. And I said, let's throw these events. I threw 20 events around the country in a year and started making, a few $100, then $1,000, then just optimizing. How can I make these events more efficient? How can I make more money? How could I sell sponsorships, get a commission from the food and bar? How can I sell tickets at the door? How can I, do consulting services around LinkedIn here? How can I wrote a book and I was selling books. I was just like, any way I could make money around these events, I'm going to figure out the angle. And just little by little, I started to learn and progress and get better. And then I created a course. People were like, can you teach me more of this? So I leaned into it. Let me create a video training course on LinkedIn, and had no clue what I was doing. I just made mistakes and continued to fail forward and just like, oh, okay, that sucked, but I made a few grand still. So let me make it better and try to make more. And just kept leaning into this because for me, the vision was how can I not be broke and have financial freedom first. So I leaned into the thing that I could do that with. Then eventually I got kind of bored with just talking about, adding a photo to your LinkedIn profile 1,000 times a day, that I was like, this is not my purpose anymore.
Yeah.
And I had to reflect and look at, the direction that I wanted to go in my life. I said, yes, this has been great financially and it's made a great impact on people's business, but it's not the thing that excites me the most. And if I want to live the richest life, what could I do? What would I be doing every single day? Who would I be spending my time with? What activities would I be doing? So I just started to continue to reevaluate. And I really like this idea of getting kind of back to my roots of just connecting with the most fascinating people in the world and learning from them. And as opposed to using it for my own benefit, which was what I was doing for the first 4 years.
Yeah.
And I helped myself build a multi-million-dollar kind of online social media course business. I said, how could, there's so many people that would love to hear these things that I'm getting to hear behind the scenes and at dinners, at these events and on the phone with these leaders. Like they're sharing so much with me. And I just wish the world could hear this. So I said, I'm going to start up, my own podcast and do it once a week where I just interview my friends who are doing some of the most fascinating things in the world and share it with the world. And it just took off. And from there, I was like, okay, this is actually what I wanted to do 5, 6 years ago, but I didn't have the credibility. I didn't have the platform. I didn't have the results to really make it a massive impact on this information. And so I did it when the timing was right, and it took off. And then I said, okay, how can I continue to build and impact people through this same message? So we started creating courses. We started writing books. We started doing events. We started doing stuff for people all over the world so they could get connected to the singular message of how to live your best life, how to make a full-time living doing the thing you love and feel the most fulfilled in the process. And that's what I've always wanted to do and teach.
That conversation just proves something. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So here's my challenge. Upgrade your network. The Festival of Entrepreneurs is happening October the 8th and 9th, and I'm giving my listeners free 2-day passes to get in the room with 5 to 10,000 entrepreneurs who are actually building something. This is where the risk takers, the game changers, and the people who've decided to screw it and just do it come for inspiration, education, and connection. Don't just listen to their success stories, go meet the people living them. Grab your free pass now, because the biggest risk isn't taking a chance, it's missing the opportunity entirely. If Lewis's journey taught us anything, it's this: your rock bottom doesn't define you, it's your response to it that does. For me, this was one interview that I was probably my most nervous. School of Greatness was one of the first podcast I listened to that inspired me to start this podcast, Screw It, Just Do It. So it was also early in my podcasting journey. I think it was episode, 20, 30, something like that. I was super nervous. That's all I can remember. But once I got into it, I enjoyed it. And it definitely was one of those pinch me moments when I suddenly realized I was speaking to Lewis Howes, one of the people who inspired me to start this podcast. If you'd like to listen to the full episode, then dive back into the back catalogue of Screw It, Just Do It. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss a story like this one.